Hello, good evening to you and welcome to News 360. It's coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adisa Wakanda. I'm Natalie Fort.
And my name is Alfred Okanse. Coming up in the bulletin tonight.
Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT) threatened strike over 80-month pension contribution arrears.
5 principal officers of the University of Education Winneba dismissed.
Also ahead this evening, we're bringing you more on the strike by nurses and doctors.
And in business tonight, former workers of defunct UT and Capital banks blame Bank of Ghana for the turmoil in the banking sector.
And on the international front, a bridge in Italy collapses, injuring many.
We'll bring you details of these and more tonight here on News 360. Feel free to join us with your thoughts. We're live on DSTV channel 279, also on 3news.com all across the world. Our first story this evening, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, as NADS, has given the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, a 72-hour ultimatum to release its share of the 80-month contribution arrears, failure of which it will embark on a strike. The association says it has run out of patience and the non-release of the bonds will deprive members of their lump sum benefits.
The contribution arrears of teachers have been outstanding from January 2010 to August 2016. However, monthly contributions have been paid up to June 2018. President Akufo-Addo, after pledging to ensure the arrears were transferred, directed the Finance Ministry in November 2017 to issue bonds to settle the arrears. This was made up of the Ghana Education Service Occupational Pension Scheme share of the Temporary Pensions Fund account, TPFA. It was released to the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, for onward transfer to their custodian banks. The TPFA bonds, valued at 1.7 million cedis, have not been transferred as it still remains with the NPRA. Addressing the media on Tuesday, General Secretary of the Association, David Ofure-Champon, maintained the NPRA has turned itself into a custodian and a fund manager, flouting the National Pensions Act, Act 766.
What is even more serious is that contributors who have retired go to NPRA for their benefits, and NPRA rather refers the retirees back to the teacher unions for the payment of their benefits.
He said they have waited for far too long, hence the 72-hour ultimatum.
After the 72-hour ultimatum, we would embark on a sit-down strike for the number of days that it will take the NPRA to release the bonds to our custodian bank. 2 weeks after reopening of schools for the first time in the 2018-2019 academic year, we would proceed on work to rule for another 2 weeks.
The NPRA was established by National Pensions Act, Act 766, and is mandated to regulate and monitor the operation of the scheme and ensure the effective administration of pensions in the country in accordance with Section 6 of Act 766.
Now, 5 principal officers of the University of Education Winneba have been dismissed by the Governing Council. 1 other official and her appointment has been terminated. The 5 are the Vice-Chancellor, who is serving a suspension, Professor Mauto Avoke, Finance Officer, Dr. Theophilus Senior Akoli, Daniel Tete, Mary Jime, and Frank Owusu Boateng. They were interdicted in July last year by the university's Governing Council to allow for investigations after it emerged that some vital documents at some offices at the center of an ongoing investigation had gone missing. Subsequently, in January, lawyers of the 5 wrote to the University Council demanding their immediate reinstatement. A Winneba High Court in 2017 ordered Professor Mauto Avoke to step aside until a case brought against him and the university's governing council is determined. The order was made in a case brought before the court by one Kofi Kwaira, who insisted that the Vice-Chancellor and the Finance Officer were operating under the institution's defunct governing council. The plaintiff noted that the university's council's mandate had expired in November 2013. But the Education Ministry failed to constitute a new governing council for the university and rather allowed the defunct governing council, which had no mandate, to continue the functions of a properly constituted governing council as if it had been properly constituted. However, before the substantive claims were looked into, the university, through its lawyers, applied to the courts to dismiss the suit on the 3 counts, but the application was dismissed. The High Court subsequently found Professor Avoke and the school's finance officer, Dr. Theophilus Senior Akoli, guilty of procurement and other financial irregularities. The court subsequently ordered the retrieval of all monies paid to the contractors of the North Campus roads and a forensic audit of the project.
Let's go straight to the northern region now, where all outpatient services, antenatal and emergency services have been withdrawn at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Doctors at the hospital have also withdrawn their services following the seizure of their CEO and subsequent locking up of his office by a youth group believed to be affiliated with the ruling New Patriotic Party. All inpatient cases currently on admission will be attended to. The doctors are demanding security of turnout of the CEOs appointed to the facility without interference, failure to which they will not return to work. The doctors are also demanding internal security be beefed up in the hospital. Nurses and midwives at the Tamale Teaching Hospital have declared an indefinite strike in solidarity with their CEO, who was forced out of his office on Monday, August 13. Meanwhile, the nurses and midwives in a statement noted perpetrators of the act, which they argued was not the first time, have never been punished or arrested in the past. The nurses say they no longer feel safe following incidents of brutalities meted out to them in the past. Let's stay on this rather worrying development there in the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Dr. Michael Dama is there at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Doc, thank you for your time. Dr. Dama, if you can hear me. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Great. Now, we're getting the statement from both the nurses and the doctors at the facility where you are that you are going on strike. All emergency outpatient cases are now on hold. The Metropolitan Chief Executive said that they are assured you of security, the police presence is there, beefed up, and that is not assuring enough.
Currently, well, the activities that have been, or the actions that have been taken by these various groups shows you the gravity of the situation at the ground. Putting up, 7 to 10 security personnel in front of the office of the Chief Executive Officer does not assure anyone of anything. If people could come to the Chief Executive's office and then do this, what about me sitting in my consulting room or in the theater? Or some other nurse or someone else who may have an altercation with a patient through no fault of theirs. This is just unbecoming. It's people in town, some people in the hospital thinking that because of certain rights they perceive they have, that they can go out and then sack whoever they wish. And they've made it a tribalistic issue, and we are not interested in that. We are interested in our safety, we are interested in our security, we are interested in the ability to be able to work with our peace of mind, with all our colleagues, and for the same for ourselves and for our patients. That is what we want. If these perpetrators or the perpetrators of these actions cannot be arrested in 24 hours, I beg to ask, if it had been a police officer that had been manhandled in this situation, do you think by now, 24 hours down the line, the people would not have been found?
Now, so it is on the basis of your safety And that you are going on this strike.
Our safety. And the assurances are mere words. They are rhetoric. It's just talk. We want to see action on the ground. Putting police officers in front of the CEO's offices for his safety. It is not for the safety of the workers of TTH.
I see. But you recall, indeed, this is not the first time this is happening. I think in February last year, a certain youth group, which is said to be affiliated to the NPP, also then locked out the then CEO and then recommended that this one be appointed. And this has happened again the second time. How does all of this affect the delivery of health care during that period when all of this is happening to innocent Ghanaians who visit that particular facility?
Basically, the truth of the matter is that the current CEO is not the only one who has been affected. The previous CEO before him was affected. The one before him, Ken Sego, was also affected in various ways, in various modalities. With regards to the health and then the safety of patients and the services being rendered and they being called off and the adverse effects it can have on patients, we understand. We are doctors. We live with these patients. We deal with them day in and day out. We see their suffering. We feel it. We understand it. We fall sick ourselves. Our own colleagues look after us. But here is the situation. If I am dead or I am beaten up, who is going to look after these same patients? If the doctors there are running away for fear and panic and are not able to come to work, who is going to look after these patients? This is the situation where at any time you are looking over your shoulder. Because these people do not wear bands or identify themselves with certain clothing or things like that. Security services where you can identify them. There could be anyone standing next to you, and you do not know who the person is because they tend to just walk in like I see their relatives, and then they walk in looking as though they are looking for the chief executive. And it's when they get to the final destination that their true colors are revealed. We are not safe.
Right.
If we just want to be safe, we want the right things done. If the chief executive has done some wrong, the right things and the right processes should be followed, and then he should have his own day to explain himself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dama, for your time this evening. We're grateful. That's Dr. Michael Dama. It's at the Tamale Teaching Hospital where both nurses and doctors have declared a strike.
Certainly, Alfred. Meanwhile, the Tamale Metropolitan Chief Executive, Idrisu Musa Superior, says the youth that attacked the administrative offices of the Tamale Teaching Hospital is not the new Patriotic Party group, Kandahar Boys, as earlier reported. He spoke in an earlier interview.
Police presence in the hospital to make sure that any trouble does not occur. It's a criminal matter, and the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Service will investigate that. But as a MedSec, we would meet today, and I'm not going to tell you publicly the issues we are going to discuss because it's going to be a strategy meeting. But we are encouraging the police, and I'm giving the police my fullest support to investigate this matter, and if there's crime, if there's evidence of crime, if the judicial processes confirm that there's a crime, then of course the person will be, or persons will be prosecuted. They are people, they are members of the MPP, so I speak to them every single day.
And they are a vigilante group?
They are not a vigilante group.
What are they?
They are a youth group we have so many youth groups within the Tamale Metro, and we have youth groups across the country. Kandahar is one of the most useful youth groups of our party.
There's going to be a lot more on this particular issue at the Tamale Teaching Hospital here on NEWS360. But the University Teachers Association of Ghana, that's UTAG, has rescinded its decision to go on strike following the release of funds to pay their book and research allowance. President of the that's UTAG of the University of Ghana branch, Dr. Harry Agbanu, spoke exclusively with our reporter Daniel Opoku.
President of the University of Ghana branch of UTAG, Dr. Harry Agbanu, said the association has rescinded its decision after the release of funds from Friday, August 10. He is confident members who have not been paid would also receive their money this week.
It will be a decision of the National Executive Committee. Since the National Executive Committee hasn't met to review the ultimatum, the so-called ultimatum, we will take it at its stance. But the way I see it, now that government is taking steps to pay, it may become needless to want to proceed on withdrawal of our activities.
Of major concern to him and the entire leadership of UTAG is having to agitate before the payment of the allowance, adding that the leadership of the association will begin processing documents for the payment of the 2018-2019 book and research allowance.
Every year, new recruitments are done, and some people go on retirement. So the data needs to be collected and then interrogated so that those who deserve to be paid are paid. It takes a while to compile the list of those who are eligible for payment. So I'm thinking that if government can make it a point that by the end of the first semester, this money is paid without anybody making noise, without the association having to follow up and to make noise, it will be very helpful to all of us.
3,000 lecturers in public universities are expected to receive the allowance. Each lecturer is entitled to $1,000 for books and 500 cedis for the research. Meanwhile, the leadership of UTA has pledged its support towards the establishment of the National Research Fund, which will soon be tabled before Parliament.
In some other news this evening, irate traders at Tiptoe Lane at Kwame Nkrumah Circle in Accra are demanding that the Trade and Industry Ministry enforces the law which prohibits foreigners from engaging in retail business in Ghana. This follows an incident where 6 people, suspected to be Nigerians, broke into several Ghanaian-owned shops, ransacking them and damaging property. Solis Rose Quarty was there and has more.
In December 2017, a group calling itself the Circle Traders Association embarked on a protest to draw attention to the influx of Nigerian retail traders in the area, claiming it would push them out of business. Today, they claim the affair has become a reality.
We call it Kwame Nkrumah Circle. We're particularly at Tiptoe Lane. The tension here is palpable. You can almost cut it with a knife for one simple reason. The Ghanaian traders at Circle are livid. They are angry and they are out for blood. What exactly are they asking for?
Unfortunately, when we came to work this morning, we came to realize that this structure that I'm standing in front now, they've built a new shops behind this very structure. And then we know there is a Nigerian man who has financed that particular structure. And this very place, it's a walkway. And so you don't need to build a store here. We, the citizens, we've managed to build containers and then shops here that we are managing here. But they want to remove the Ghanaians here and then open the structure behind to Nigerians. He has stocked the shop with phones. He can't find any of the phones now. You understand? And there are other people that are selling clothes here. They too, they've broken in and they've lost other properties as well.
But have you been able to speak to the AMA about this?
It's not AMA. Because if AMA is aware, AMA will give us notice. But here is the case, the people that they collapse these things, they came here in the midnight to do all this kind of nonsense. So if it is AMA will give us notice. So I think AMA...
You're saying AMA has not given you any notice to demolish them?
Nothing.
What are you asking for?
The law must work. That's all what we are asking for. The GIPCI 2017, that prohibits foreigners from working in the market, that law must work. Because we can't have parliamentary law working whereby a foreigner cannot be, anybody with even dual citizens cannot be a parliamentarian. But then when it comes to the traders, we in petty trading, anybody at all can just come into the market. The ECOWAS has its own law. For ECOWAS national, like me for instance, if I go to Nigeria, I have 90 days to stay in Nigeria. After 90 days, I must move out. And we should not forget, no law supersedes the Constitution of Ghana.
Well, on an MTN video report today, our citizen journalist Eunice Eya highlights the poor state of road at Ashaman, Kanewu in Accra.
This is the deplorable state of the Kanewi Road. Kanewi is a suburb of Ashaman in the Greater Accra region. The road, since its construction, hasn't been tarred. Major concerns have been raised by residents of this area and also drivers to the Ministry of Roads and Highways to help tar up this road, but all of their worries and concerns are to no avail. The road is posing a serious threat to residents of this area and also to the drivers whenever it rains, as they are unable to drive through to their destinations. We're calling upon the Ministry of Roads and Highways to come to our aid to tar up this road for us. That is Heyain is reporting from Kanewu.
Thank you to our citizen journalists from Kanewu and Ashaman. You can also send us your video report on any issue that's bothering your community on 055-1433-044, 055-1433-044. Live here on News 360. We'll be back shortly with some more news. Stay with us.
Welcome back to News 360. Time now for us to delve into some news from the world of business. And it's a year after UT and Capital Banks were liquidated, and former employees of the defunct Capital Bank are asking the Bank of Ghana to take full responsibility for the bank's failures. They blame the regulator for current turmoil in the financial sector.
The financial sector has been in a considerable state of turmoil for close to 2 years. UT and Capital Banks had to be taken over through a purchase and assumption transaction with Ghana Commercial Bank to prevent spillovers to the rest of the banks and the economy as a whole. On August 1, the Bank of Ghana declared 5 banks, namely Unibank, Sovereign, Construction, Beige and Royal, insolvent and revoked their licenses, then merged them into what has been christened the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. Former staff of Capital Bank have blamed the central bank for the crisis in the sector. Former digital banking manager at Capital Bank, Raymond Adai-Dankwa, said the regulator failed to appoint a supervisor to ensure prudent management of bailout funds. He said uneven supervision and inadequate enforcement played a significant role in escalating the woes of distressed banks.
When you give a liquidity support to a financial institution, you are supposed to appoint an advisor for them. Okay, in this case, it was not done. The liquidity support was given to Capital Bank were in 3 trenches. So you gave the first one, the person couldn't account, and you went ahead and gave a second one, and then a third one. If you've given taxpayers money to somebody to go and work and you are not supervising them, then...
Former branch control supervisor of Capital Bank, Philip Yawson, currently unemployed, said the Bank of Ghana needs to set up a witness protection plan to make it easy for employees to report irregular movement of funds within the system.
In the sector, we need something like a whistleblower. If I see a transaction and this transaction is suspicious, we know we have the FICs and things there, but how am I protected? If you are my boss, you are the MD of the bank, and I see a suspicious transaction as an officer down there, and I come and tell you, and the transaction is your own or your related party, how would I be treated? Where the person who reports will be properly protected. You understand? It will give more confidence to those down the
system. They entreated staff of banks to form unions that will work in their best interest.
Stay in the banking sector, as the head of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, says the board chairman of the defunct Capital Bank, Dr. Mensa Otabil, cannot recuse himself of blame in the collapse of Capital Bank. He was reacting to a statement issued on his role in the bank.
In response to his critics, Dr. Mensa Otabil, in a statement indicating that his non-executive role as the board chairman of the bank, some decisions made turned out well, while others didn't. He said everything was done with the best of intentions in the interest of various stakeholders. Head of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, lauded Dr. Mensa Otabil for his response to the criticisms, but said he cannot absolve himself from blame.
Based on the report that is presented to him, either by the finance team, by the CEO, by the internal auditor. So even though the board chairman is not involved in the day-to-day activity, what happens day-to-day is translated into a report, either by in the form of internal audit report or other report that is actually presented to the board.
So Dr. Mensa Otabil, responding to the issue of his role with regards to the now defunct Capital Bank, says he, in as much as he was serving as the board chairman, was not involved in the day-to-day operations of the bank and hence cannot be held liable in this context. I'm going to run us by the role of a non-executive board chair and its specific definition, because that's the role that Dr. Mensa Otabil played with regards to Capital Bank. Now, a non-executive board chairman of any board does not occupy a management position in the company. To explain that, a board chairman and non-executive chairman cannot play the role of a manager or a chief executive officer. The chair operates independently from the company and mostly receives plans and proposals from the chief executive officer through the corporate secretary and presents these to the board for approval. And a non-executive director typically does not engage in the day-to-day management of the organization. However, he or she is involved in policy making and in planning exercises. So that goes to show that a board chairman and non-executive board chairman, in as much as is not involved in the day-to-day management of the running of the organization, is still involved in a sense of policy making and directing the affairs and steering the affairs of the company, and that's the role that Dr. Mensa Otabil played. He said he is cooperating with Yoko on investigations on this issue, so we'll bring some more on that subsequently. Now, one of the reasons for the failure of some banks in the country is the sleeping godfathers. These were the words of a former employee of UT Bank and a financial risk analyst, Samuel Otre, exactly a year when UT and Capital Banks were liquidated by the Bank of Ghana.
On August 14 last year, the Bank of Ghana revoked the license of both UT Bank and Capital Bank, having declared them insolvent because their liabilities exceeded their assets. This followed a takeover by GCB Bank Limited. A former employee of UT Bank and a financial risk analyst, Samuel Otre, insists the regulators cannot absolve themselves from blame.
I call the sleeping godfathers. For 272 financial institutions who have been reported to be in problem with 7 local banks failing, I don't think anybody can ever excuse the regulator. The second one is the Security and Exchange. For the purposes of all the companies that were listed and for the matters of all the other issues we have.
The author of the book, Fate of System Thinking, which explores the failures in the banking industry in Ghana and the way forward, is of the view that as far back as 2014, UT and Capital Banks with good governance and prudent decision-making could have resolved the challenges.
I think we should think of them as a system and think of them together. I think if all the moving parts had done their jobs as they should, UT, Capital, or any other person for that matter, would have been saved, irrespective of how bad business they were in. They would have been corrected by the governor or the regulator. They would have, their auditors would have pointed it out, and so they would have done the right thing. If employees were committed and knew what they were doing, and the culture was such enabling.
Another former employee of UT Bank, Kojo Kumsin, says life has not been easy after he was laid off from the UT Bank.
It's been a humbling learning experience, but we are moving on. It's been quite tough. Looking at the kind of shake-ups going on in the banking industry and all that, getting another job has been quite difficult, especially within the banking sector, because as it stands now, not a lot of banks are really employing, so it's been quite a challenge.
Kojo Kumsin says he's been unsuccessful in seeking a new employment.
I've gone back to school, and I'm also trying to do a few things on my own as well, because I believe that with the way things are going, we are gradually shifting into a phase of self-reliance. So trying to start something on your own and being as entrepreneurial as possible has now become the way forward.
The banking sector is currently undergoing some radical reforms engineered by the central bank.
Still in banking, Omnibank and Sahel Sahara Bank are reported to be in merger talks. TV3 Business understands that discussions are far advanced, with an announcement expected in the coming days. The talks were occasioned by challenges in meeting the new capital requirement of 400 million cedis by December this year.
Sahel Bank, according to its half-year results for 2018, shows that it has a stated capital of 71 million Ghana cedis. Omnibank, on the other hand, has about 141 million cedis, according to the institution's published financial results. This should mean that even if the two institutions should merge, they would have about 212 million Ghana cedis as a stated capital, still short of the required 400 million cedis. A major deal between the Omnibank, a member of the Jospon Group, and the Sahel Sahara Bank, which is owned by 13 Sahelian countries, has since received the blessing of the Bank of Ghana, paving the way for a formal announcement later this month. The consolidation of the two banks is to create a stronger bank that can meet the Bank of Ghana's new minimum capital demand of 400 million Ghana cedis by December this year. When successfully consummated, the deal could create a larger bank with almost 1,000 employees on its payroll and 46 branches, servicing customers in 7 regions nationwide. Its total assets could also be in excess of 1.3 billion Ghana cedis. The deal is being overseen by Bora Advisory Services, an indigenous financial service advisory firm. It is understood that a new name for the merged entity is still being discussed. In spite of their differences in ownership, both the Sahel Sahara and Omnibanks are relatively small, with their 2017 financial accounts showing that they have virtually the same balance sheets.
Well, we'll certainly stay on that particular issue and bring you some more on it in subsequent bulletins. There's more business news on our website. It's 3news.com. On to you, Alfred.
Thank you. Natalie, with business, our President Akufo-Addo has cut short for the construction of 100 homes at Oyoko Akrofom in the Echima Nwebieja North District of the Ashanti region. The housing project by the State Housing Company is expected to create about 4,000 direct and indirect jobs. Here's a report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
The new housing project forms part of government intervention to bridge the housing gap. The Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II has released 200 acres of land at Oyoko Akrofom for the project. Named after a former president, the John Ejekum Kufuor estate is in honor of his contribution towards bridging the housing deficit. Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Frema Prempe, said the government is committed to addressing the housing deficit. President Akufo-Addo implored the State Housing Company to employ local people in executing the project.
Altogether, some 4,000 direct and indirect jobs are going to be created out of this development. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate the State Housing Corporation for this initiative and to tell them that I support the request of the Oyokohene that they should employ local people. That should be the first point, that they should employ local people in the execution of this project.
Ghana currently has a housing deficit of about 1.7 million.
You're watching News 360. The bulletin is live all across Africa on DSTV channel 279 and all across the world on 3news.com. We've got some sports news coming up for you shortly. Stay with us.
Hello there and good evening. It's time to do some entertainment news tonight on NEWS360. Now, there appears to be simmering tension between Nana Opoku-Kwarteng, father of late dancehall songstress Ebony, and her manager Bullet. Bullet has alleged the singer's father greedily took all donations received from Ebony's funeral in addition to other monies not entirely meant for him. Ebony's dad has labeled Bullet a cheat. Now I'm in the studio with the father. Right. He joins us in just a few minutes to clear the misconception going around. But moving on and still staying on that story.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. These broke guys have lots of energy.
It's barely 5 months after Ebony was laid to rest, but events that have followed are not the ones fans will feel proud about. There have been a number of disagreements between her father, Nana Opoku-Kwarteng, and her manager, Bullet, over contract and managerial issues. The latest is who has the right to establish Ebony's foundation and related issues. In March, Bullet hinted of plans to set up a foundation in memory of Ebony.
After everything, we'll be going around and do some donations to accident victims, as we said. So people should keep their ears open.
Nana Opoku-Kwarteng is reported to have said he's not giving Bullet his word to set up a foundation. He accused Bullet of giving him just 2,000 Ghana cedis out of 40,000 Ghana cedis he made from Ebony's tribute concert. Bullet, on the other hand, has alleged the singer's father greedily took all donations received from Ebony's funeral in addition to other monies not entirely meant for him. In a Facebook post, Bullet lamented Ebony's father has received $9,300 from online royalties but is still going round bad-mouthing him. Bullet, who believes Ebony's father is bent on defaming him, revealed Nana Opoku-Kwarteng has received what is due him and even more.
Well, so that's a background to what's been happening, but I've been joined in the studio by Nana Opoku-Kwarteng, father of Ebony. Thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So it's quite clear that the relationship between yourself and Bullet has gone worse, you know, and it gets worse by the day. What seems to be the problem? Is it money-related issues? Is it contract? Where's the missing link?
Well, actually, I didn't know. I never knew there was something like that, that the relationship between myself and Bullet had gone that bad. Actually, I never knew that.
You don't realize that?
Trust me. We haven't been too, as it were, we have been too good in terms of relationship of a sort.
Okay.
Like music, everybody started him. But we are not badly going.
Okay.
We are just cool, yes.
You said you haven't been too good. What do you mean by that?
He says that, right?
No, you just said that you haven't been too good. So.
Yes, because you see, why would I say this? But I must say, Bullet musically managed my girl. No two ways about that. I have the contract here. I heard Bullet once upon a time saying that he discussed this Ebony's foundation with me, and that we were going to set up foundation in memory of the late Queen. And that we were going to do that. We are going to start with that. Per the money we were going to accrue from the trade fair event.
All right.
That was his word. And it was like 50,000.
You think you made 50,000 from the ticket, or you know
no,
for
he
sure
said
after
so.
counting?
He said so. He said it's 50,000 for the foundation. That the money we're going to raise there, the 50,000 is going to start.
Let's start with the concert. From what Bullet says on his Facebook page, you were there when proceeds from tickets was received and counted. How much was collected on the day?
I couldn't have been there. Oh, seriously?
He said you had your men there.
That's right.
Right.
So therefore, the money we have it here is 39,268.68
39,000.
That's right.
260. But I've seen reports that says 39,999. How much did he give you from those proceeds?
Per his calculation and deductions and what have you, he gave me 2,000 Ghana cedis.
And that's all you received?
That is exactly what he gave me.
Right. But he's debunked that. He said that you had your men there, the money was counted, and so you know exactly how much was made at the gate. He's also made claims, for instance, that you receive money from the clothing deal, tributes from Ohio, but you call him a cheat.
The Ohio thing, I know nothing about Ohio.
You didn't know about the tribute in Ohio?
Not at all. Like I'm telling you, I'm just surprised seeing things like this and reading them.
Well, you know, this afternoon he issued a statement saying, you know, he was separating himself from the management of late Ebony's, you know, royalties and unreleased songs. Are you going to take up management of your late daughter's unreleased songs? And have you had a word with him since the statement came out?
No. I haven't had any word with him. I haven't met him. I never knew he was going to put that thing out there, honestly speaking.
Were you shocked? Have you heard about it yourself?
Honestly, let me be honest, I was damn shocked. Seriously shocked. But I took that in good faith. Because even though the Queen is no more, you have her songs, many of them. Once upon a time, I asked you, I wanted to take them though, when we went to my lawyer. He says, Nana, pay me some money and take this. So I was about to do that when my lawyer said, no, leave it for now.
Well, this is a growing story. We'll keep an eye on it because, for instance, we want to find out what's happening with the foundation. But thank you very much for being here, Mr. Kwarteng. Meanwhile, Rough Town Records says it has washed its hands of all of Ebony's unreleased songs. In a statement released on Tuesday afternoon, the record label announced it is no more interested in releasing songs by Ebony, who is the reigning VGMA Artist of the Year. The statement also indicated that Rough Town Records owns 60% royalties of Ebony's unreleased songs, but they've renounced that and leave the full 100% to his father, Nana Opoku Kwarteng. The statement asks fans who wish to know more about when Ebony's songs will be coming out to contact her father. Well, that's about it for entertainment news tonight. There'll be more updates on 3news.com. My name is Miriam Osei Ajaman. Thanks for
Thank you, Miriam. I wish all of this will be over. But thank you for staying with us here on News 360. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're grateful. My name is Alfred Okanse.
And I'm Natalie Force. Thanks so much for watching. Have a pleasant evening.